without further ado, I want to introduce our next speaker, and she's going to come up here, and this is not a panel. She's going to talk about her organization, and what you find in this young woman is a great set of examples on how to build a career around the things that you're passionate about, around the things that you're good at, around the things that you care about. Courtney started her organization, I think, while she was at school or right after, while you were at school, while she was at Duke University, Blue Devils. And she started this organization because she loved filmmaking and she loved issue-oriented content and she loved to save the world, which is something that was instilled in her by her parents, but also by her community at school as well. And she took it upon herself to start her own organization. And now, I'm not going to say how many years later because that's impolite, but now some years later, it's still going strong. She's actually branching out and creating an agency as a part of it as well. It's an amazing organization that I've worked with for quite some time that takes young people on university campuses and teaches them how to make content around the important issues of the day. But it's not just, here's a camera, hey kids, go shoot. It's real training, it's real advocacy, it's real mentoring, it's real education. And now she's taking that experience and branching out into an agency, for-profit organization, which is a really innovative and a bold risk at this point in time. So she's one of the smartest, most innovative, most forward-thinking people I know. She's also a tremendous friend of mine. So I'm really happy and proud to be introducing Courtney Spence.
Well, I have a lot to live up to here, so I hope I don't disappoint. Thank you, Evan. That was a very, very kind introduction. I want to thank Dolly and the whole team for putting this on because, you know, conferences like this are really important. And I'm going to move this because I'm kind of short so you can see my faces. Hi, great. Conferences like this are so important for the creative community because there's really not a clear, straight path for those of us that want a career as a creative. Like, we know what it takes if you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. There's kind of a clear trajectory that you can follow. But in this day and age, as a creative, there's really not a clear path. And so we need to come together as a community. We need to have these kind of intergenerational conversations. We need to learn from those that have gone before us so that we can start to clear our own path in the creative world. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today, is that path to finding a career doing what you love to do. I think that path starts with purpose. I have come to find that purpose should really be at the heart of everything that we do. Purpose is what gets us out of bed in the morning. Purpose is what carries us up and lifts us up in the difficult times. Purpose is what makes us proud to do what we do, why we do it, and who we do it with. When you are connected to that which is your purpose, you are intrinsically tied to something that is greater than yourself. And when you know what your purpose is and you combine that with your creative passions, you got something really powerful. And I want to talk about creativity for a second, because being creative is not just for the writers and the musicians and the producers and the filmmakers. Being creative is a state of mind. Being creative is about seeing things differently. It's about looking for new ideas. It's about looking for better ways. It's about finding the thrill that is to create something that was not there before. And when you're able to match that creativity with your purpose, you really, really have a great chance to make an impact in this world and make a difference. And that's really what I want to talk about today. So when we talk about what is purpose, Aristotle said it best: where your talents and the needs of the world cross, there lies your vocation. So what he's saying is, when your talents and the needs of the world or the needs of your community or the needs of others intersect, at that point of intersection is your purpose. So today I'd like to share some lessons that I've learned on the road to purpose in the creative industry. It seems that I've always been creative. That is something that I had to sort of discover along the way, especially when I was in college. But when I look back to my early years, I do understand how I kind of came to be in the creative industry. As Evan mentioned, I grew up in a creative household. My father's in advertising. He actually started his own ad agency over 40 years ago in Austin, Texas. Hook 'em horns. I'm required to do that every time I mention it. And in his advertising world, my father not only did great campaigns for corporations and companies, but he found a way to leverage advertising to support the causes he cared about. So he designed campaigns for causes like Don't Mess with Texas. He designed campaigns for public servants that he believed in, like President Bill Clinton. And so from a very, very early age, I was able to understand the power of that 30-second story. You can tell a lot in 30 seconds, and you can use those short stories to support the people and the causes that you believe in. So growing up, I found my own personal sense of creativity in the love of theater. I really found that my passion was acting, and I found it especially in high school. So every weekend when everybody else in Texas was at football meets, and football games and track meets, I was participating in competitive theater, which is actually a thing, strangely enough, but it was a way for me to really find a way to marry my passion of the art of acting and find a little bit of the thrill of the competition. But it really wasn't until my freshman year at Duke University that my path to my creative career got started. And so interestingly enough, when I started out at college, I really thought that I was going to go into public service. So I spent my first year serving on the Duke Student Government Council, attending all the meetings, trying to change policies on campus. I really enjoyed it and wanted to kind of continue down that clear path. So I ran for office again for my sophomore year. And it was then that I lost the election. It was a pretty embarrassing loss. I don't need to go into the details now. I've already worked through all of that. But getting over the pain and the embarrassment of that loss was really hard to do. But standing where I am today in front of you all, I know that that was the greatest thing that happened to me. It was the most transformative thing that could have happened to me. And that's the thing that I think is the first step in finding purpose in your creativity, and that is to embrace failure. Edwin Land said, "An essential aspect of creativity is not being afraid to fail." And he should know. I don't know if you guys know this, but Land was the inventor of the Polaroid camera. He was a scientist and an inventor. And as a scientist, he was very familiar with failure, because the only way that he was going to invent great things was through the scientific process, through hypothesis and experiments, over and over and over again. And what is that? It's really just the ability to fail repeatedly until you get the result you want. So after getting over that campaign loss, I was a little bit lost myself, because I knew I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make a difference now. I didn't want to wait until I was in a career, and so I started volunteering. And I had incredible experiences volunteering with the Duke Cancer Patient Support Group, with the Head Start program in Durham, but I just didn't feel quite fulfilled. And I think it was probably Aristotle that was whispering in my ear, where are your talents and where are the needs intersecting, and find that. And I realized that my creative strengths weren't being utilized, and that I really missed that. So I started to attend lectures at the Center for Documentary Studies. If you guys don't know about it, you should check it out. They're a Duke institution that really is at the forefront of documentary media, and they really believe that the media we produce needs to be used as a tool for social justice and activism. So that one small idea that I heard jarred something loose for me. In my sophomore year of college, I founded the organization Students of the World. Because I knew that my peers and I didn't have deep pocketbooks to donate with. We weren't in formal positions of power. But you know what we could do is we could make media. We could tell stories. We could go out into the world to find the communities and causes whose stories needed to be told, and we could help lift up those stories through journalism, through photography, and through film. We could make a difference right then and there with our creative talents. And I decided to name the group Students of the World, because I believe then, just as I do today, that leaders in any industry must not just be content to be citizens of their own country, but they have to be students of the world. They have to be globally minded. We have to listen and learn and create and pass it on. So I had my heart set on a first production for a community called Kitesh. Kitesh is a small village 300 kilometers southwest of Moscow. And it is an orphanage village, like literally a village that is created and has inspired parents to come down, uproot their lives in Moscow, and come down and live in this village to care for orphans from some of the worst orphanages in the country. I recruited 9 other students who had a passion for the cause and a passion for storytelling. But the cost of this production, the cost of this trip, of sending 10 people all the way over to Russia, was certainly not cheap. So I began to knock down doors. I talked to any administrator, any faculty member, irregardless of what they practiced or what they taught or what department they were in. I would talk to any sort of supportive adult in my community about this idea that we had and see if they could find ways to support us, whether financially or through making connections. And I knocked on a lot of doors, and I got a lot of skeptical responses. I got a lot of rejection. Because at the time, sending 10 students halfway across the world to tell stories through media really wasn't done like it is today. And that rejection was hard. I mean, people were saying things like, well, it's kind of a good idea, but maybe you should do something less risky and stay closer to home. I even had friends that doubted me. And at that point, I got discouraged and almost quit. And I was on the phone with my father, and he said, every no that you get takes you one step closer to a yes. So one of the final meetings that I had, in terms of my list of people I could meet with, was a woman named Janet Dickerson. And I'll tell you, she gave me a yes. And for that, she will be one of the greatest heroes of my life. Janet was, at the time, the vice president of student affairs at Duke, and she was a force to be reckoned with. And so I walked into her office so nervous, and was so surprised when, after I presented her our concept, she not only got it and loved it, she committed right then and there to support us financially and to support us within the Duke community. So she organized a luncheon. She got all of these different department heads and administrators, and she sat them at a table, and she basically strong-armed them in joining her to support us, to help us achieve this dream. And this is where I'd like to pause for a second and say that when you are at that intersection of creativity and purpose, and when you are dogging it, you're working really, really hard, momentum will eventually follow. And in that momentum, there will be certain people, very special people in very specific situations, who will be willing to take a risk on you. They'll give you an opportunity. They'll believe in you. And what you do next is what matters most. Because when you have someone that believes in you, when you have someone that has taken a risk with and for you, you have to stand and deliver. So in this journey that you guys are on, I want you to be open. I want you to embrace every single person that you meet and always be prepared to hustle. So the next thing I knew, my team and I were on a flight to Moscow, and it was incredible. We got to live in the homes with these parents and their adopted children. Many of the people in the village didn't speak English, and I knew how to say yes and no in Russian, so we didn't get really far in terms of a verbal conversation, but there was a lot of charades and a lot of just common shared laughter and experiences. We worked alongside the community. We planted potatoes. We cooked in the kitchen. We played games with the children. And we learned about the trauma that many of these children had experienced and how this community of parents and caregivers of a village came together to love these children, care for them, and really heal their deep wounds. It was truly the best embodiment I've ever seen of the fact that it does take a village to raise a child. So all the while we were there, we listened, we learned, and we documented. And when we left in our van that last day in Katesh, every one of us had tears in our eyes, and I was struck with the fact that we had connected with this community halfway across the world whom we barely shared a language with, barely shared similar experiences with, certainly didn't speak the same language, but somehow we had managed to share a conversation. We captured their stories through black and white photography, and they captured our hearts. And that was a big responsibility that we had. We knew we had to come home and pass that on. So we created photography exhibits, slideshow presentations, and did everything in our power to educate those in our community about this amazing organization halfway across the world. It was at one of these slideshow presentations that a Russian professor came up to me and said he thought that we had learned more in 3 weeks than most of his students do in 3 months of study abroad. At the same time, I was getting inquiries from students all over campus that wanted to participate, and faculty members and administrators were becoming extremely supportive. And a lot of those no's that I had faced the year before suddenly became yeses. And as a creative person, you craft the stories that connect with people. So when we were able to come home and share our stories, we were able to connect with our community. We were able to educate and inspire and move them. But in order to be able to do that, you personally have to fill your own toolboxes with the resources and the experiences that are different from your own. You have to push yourself to get out of your comfort zone so that you can learn how to be courageous, how to be confident, how to be humble, but also how to be grateful. So for the next 12 years, chapters of Students of the World crept up all over the country, and we sent hundreds of students out into the world to tell these kinds of stories. I had an opportunity to travel with almost 20 of these production teams, and I'm telling you, every single time was different and just as inspiring as the last. I learned so much about the world, about struggles, about solutions, and about myself. So it was in 2006 when we were really looking to scale our organization because we just didn't have the capacity to have as many participants in it as we wanted. I found myself in the office, again very nervously, of the Clinton Global Initiative. And if you guys aren't familiar with them, they're short as CGI, and it's a terrific conference that happens every year that amasses heads of state, executive directors of nonprofits, CEOs of large companies, celebrity here and there, but everyone comes together to talk about the world's most pressing problems, but then to implement solutions to them. And it was the second year of their conference, and they were looking for someone to produce media content, to produce stories of their members' organizations and what they were doing globally, and we really wanted to be the ones to produce it. So after a series of very intense meetings and interviews, this big organization, the Clinton Global Initiative, took a chance on us. We were a young organization full of young talent, and they commissioned us to produce a series of media for their annual conference, which like 1,500 people attend, and it was a tall order. So we had to hustle like we had never before. But I am proud to say that we sent 5 student teams out into the world. They came back, they produced amazing content. It screened at that conference, and the next year CGI asked us to do it again. And in the years since, we've been able to send young people all over the globe to work with some of the most impressive, most purpose-based organizations, like the Nature Conservancy, Water.org, Livestrong, Procter & Gamble, UNICEF, and the Make It Right Foundation, which is one of my favorites. It's actually Brad Pitt's foundation that's rebuilding the lower Ninth Ward in New Orleans. And so, oh, sorry, I lost my place. Yes. So that was a very big catalytic moment, and that was an example of someone believing in us. And it was only 2 years ago that we found ourselves in a very similar place. And that's when I walked into Evan's office. He had just been brought on by Participant to launch Pivot. And as he started to talk with me about the goals and aspirations of the channel, I was just so struck at how exciting and how inspiring the mission of this channel was. And I knew that we could do something to help them. We could activate our Millennial Creative Network to really contribute to Pivot's mission. So since then, we have had a tremendous opportunity to work with them, to engage our creatives in their mission. In partnership with them, we're able to provide our network great opportunities for distribution and production, and in turn, we are able to provide Pivot with great content that's produced by millennials for millennials. And Pivot is a perfect example of a media company that understands that intersection of creativity and purpose. They believe that media should be used to start conversations and action around stories and issues that matter. And you see that in the shows they produce and who they work with and how they work. And it's been through working with Pivot and being able to provide these opportunities to our community that we realize that Students of the World really can be in the business of helping emerging creatives find a career doing what they love to do with purpose and with passion. And a lot of young people come to us every day with passion, with desire, with talent, with skills, All we need to support this rising generation, all you all need is just a little support, an opportunity to get a professional production under your belt, a mentor, someone to give you a chance. That's all you need. And we've seen it time and time again. So I would like to show you a couple of examples of this kind of work that we've done. This is one of my favorites, actually, and it is a production that we did in partnership with Pivot and with Hyundai. And last winter, they came to us and said, we want to find some of your young creatives to produce a 2-minute interstitial, a 2-minute commercial to run on Pivot's channel in a couple of months. And so we designed an RFP for them that was around it was a very loose RFP. It was basically pushing it out to our network to say, come to us with ideas around a 2-minute piece that tells the story of the collaborative nature of the creative process. We were very happy to award the production to 2 recent grads from Oakland, Brennan and Melinda. And their concept was to produce a music video at Oakland's 16th Street Station, which is a beautiful historic building in Oakland. And that music video would be a first-time collaboration between a DJ and an artist. The production was a tremendous success. We had over 25 current students and recent grads running the whole show, from pre-production to post. And so what you're going to see here is just sort of a behind-the-scenes look at the making of that music video.
Hyundai takes you behind the scenes of the Students of the World film, 16th Street.
So today we're filming a short film here in Oakland at the 16th Street train station. It's home of the first African-American work union. It was the end of the Transcontinental Railroad. So it's this great, point of intersection.
Cut!
When we were envisioning the piece, we were envisioning it as a one-shot, and I've never done a one-shot. There's a lot of working elements. There's a lot of moving parts within them. I really wanted to trust Brennan's direction on that and give it a go, but when I was first getting into it, those first few takes, that was definitely a new ball game.
It's awesome. It's gorgeous. There's so much history to this site. It really came alive today on set.
The most effective way to dance is when my muscles are warm, so it's definitely a challenge to stay warm throughout the day and to keep moving and not to get cramped up.
We need to have lights on it.
So we need more backup.
Oh, the power. I'm kind of nervous this whole time.
We had a lot of problems with the electricity this morning. We got on set, we set up a 2K, and then about 10 minutes into that, the generator shut off.
All of a sudden, all the lights went off and all the drives unmounted. Luckily, we have this awesome team. We basically got it up and running within 10 minutes. It was sick.
It's really great to see all the different pieces, the filmmakers, the musicians, the crew, everything come to fruition and to coalesce, and it's really exciting.
It was amazing to get this kind of opportunity.
It was epic, it was beautiful, it was fun.
And that's it for the day, guys. I could never be happier about this project. It was really awesome.
Next week, don't miss the Students of the World film, 16th Street. Brought to you by Hyundai. New thinking, new possibilities.
So this was really exciting for us because not only were our young creatives able to produce really great content and really strengthen their portfolios, they built really strong relationships along the way. And as a matter of fact, the DJ that was featured in the film actually works, his day job is working at GoPro, which is a really great company in the media space. And because of the successful working relationship that he had with Brennan and Melinda on this production, he was able to actually open doors for them, and they now both currently work at GoPro directly as a result from this production. And that's the kind of work that we're really excited about providing for our community. And we're also passionate about giving creatives a platform to tell stories about causes that they care about. What I'm about to show you is a really, really powerful, really emotional piece that was submitted by Alex Simon and Will Hamilton in our National Documentary Film Challenge, which was another partnership with Pivot, in addition with Silk Soy Milk. So this was a 2-minute submission, and I'm going to just let it speak for itself.
What am I supposed to say?
Just tell us who you are.
I'm Alex Simon, and I'm a senior at Stanford University. And tonight, for the first time, I'm going to take back the night. I've never been before because I always just felt like it would be too triggering and too overwhelming. For most of my freshman year, I was in an abusive relationship. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna say, but at this point, just the thought of speaking is a little bit overwhelming. I can't even say it, dude. It's like just freaking me out.
You wrote it, yeah. It's your own words, it's sincere.
That's what I always like feel, is that it's not sincere when people like speak out, or that it's not, it may be sincere, but it might be perceived as contrived. Okay.
Yeah, to end sexual violence, to end relationship abuse, and to show that we are a campus that does not tolerate these things.
This is about more than just taking back the night. I'm taking back the moment I wake up. I'm taking back my resting heart rate. I'm taking back wearing what I want and not dressing according to what I want to hide. I'm taking back breathing in and breathing out. I'm taking back the present moment. I'm taking back the freedom to see a man as a person, not as a memory. I'm taking back the night.
I mean, Alex is an incredibly strong woman, and we've gotten to know her really, really well. She's participated in quite a few of our productions, and as you see here, she's a strong woman, an incredible advocate, and a great storyteller. And what she was able to do through this production was to not only create a very strong, compelling piece of content, but she was able to tell her own very personal story and create and contribute to a cause that was very important to her. Since then, she's become an incredible advocate at Stanford's campus. She's been working hand in hand with the administration to change their policies on sexual assault. And they actually used this video as a part of freshman orientation this year to educate freshmen around the issues of safety for women on campus. So this is a very important issue, and it's an important issue for me and the women and men that work with me at Students of the World. And it was a great honor when we were asked by the Robin McGraw Foundation and Pivot to design a program that addressed this very issue. So we brought on Alex to help take the lead in partnership with our team to design a grant program called the I Aspire Grant. And that is a grant that we are awarding to activists on campus that are addressing issues of sexual assault. It's a $5,000 grant. The application closes at the end of the month. So if you or people you know are involved in this issue on campus, I highly encourage you to apply. And based on sort of the entries and the interest that we've had around that grant program, the McGraw Foundation actually asked us to extend this campaign on social. And that's also what I'd love to share with you today as well. This is the I Aspire campaign that we were doing on social, and it is started with male athletes. We actually had an intern at Students of the World who played soccer for USF, and he was really interested in finding ways to get young, particularly male athletes, involved in the conversation around the safety of women on campus. And so what has happened is we have found athletes all over the country that are men and women, and now it's expanded to any young person that wants to stand up for a safer campus and a safer environment for the women they love. And it's called the I Aspire campaign. And basically what you do is you take athletic tape, wrap it around your wrist, write the name of a woman that you love, that you care for, that you want to see a safer world for. Take that wrist to your chest, take a photo, use the hashtag I Aspire, and encourage your friends and others to do the same. We actually have gotten so many poignant entries from people all over the country, and we actually have some starter kits here today. So if you are so inspired to aspire, we would love for you guys to join us in this conversation where it's really about just standing up for women that we love. And this is where I think our generation is going to make a difference, and I realize I've gone over time, but I just want to say that we have the power to create the stories that we want to hear. We have the power to create the opportunities that we want. We have the opportunity to build the world that we want to live in. I think our generation really understands the power of purpose and creativity, and I am just really encouraging all of you to join us at Students of the World. We've actually got open membership, so anyone that can be a member that is passionate about creativity and purpose, we want to support you on your road to a career and making a difference, and if we can be a resource for you in any way, shape, or form, that's what we're here to do. So, closing, that's it. Thank you.